Hello everybody, today we've got a community poll recap. This is number 8, and these videos usually don't get a lot of views, so let me know if you're still a fan of these. And speaking of community, since the last time we did one a month ago, the channel has hit 1,000 subscribers, so big thanks to everybody out there. Now there's a way to join the channel if you'd like to support it, but also just liking, sharing, or subscribing, that helps too. So we're on the community tab. We're going to look at all the polls that are at least 1 month old. I try to vary the questions, I try to do it neutrally. There's some great results, there's some passionate comments. So the oldest question we've got on here is 2024 swing for president in North Carolina compared to its 1.3% GOP margin in 2020. 6% think it's going to swing 3% or more to the Democrats, 17% 1 to 2.9, 31% think it's going to be about even at under 1% either way, 35% think it tilt toward the GOP by 1 to 2.9, and 11% think it's going to go to the GOP by 3 or more. Since 2012, this state has gone toward the Republicans by low single digits. I've heard it described as the Michigan for Democrats. It gets close, but it just doesn't flip. This is tough to say. I don't think there'll be a dramatic swing here. Republicans did well statewide in the midterms, but I think this probably could go either way by up to a point, but we'll see what happens. The next question is, what is your opinion on right-to-work laws? And we've got a split. We've got 21% strongly support, 22% support, 24 neutral, 9 oppose, and 24 strongly oppose. This is one of these controversial issues, and I understand where both sides come from. Some people say it's right to work for less. Some people say you should have freedom of association. There's an argument that unions are the only way that employees could have a voice, so they're not trampled all over. There is definitely merit to that, but I also think it's complex, and I think that maybe you shouldn't be forced to join a union. But I could see it either way. Getting value for your labor, that's important. There's also union corruption, and I don't think that should be completely dismissed just because the corporation is supposed to be greedy. So this is one where you could go on and on. Looks like the results are a split, more lean towards supporting it, but of course there's people that strongly are against this. They want to see unions expanded and protected, and then there's also the libertarian aspect. Don't garnish my pay for a forced association. The debate is never going to end, but it's good to get these results anyway and see where people stand. Let's go to the next question. Chance Donald Trump is convicted of a felony by election day. 14% very likely, 17% likely, 35% 50-50, 23% unlikely, 12 very unlikely. And yeah, this one is all anything for me. The indictments have poured in, but will they lead to a conviction? That's tough to say. Anything involving Trump is going to be highly polarizing. Either it's a complete witch hunt, or he's a clear criminal, and these results are pretty scattered. A plurality is on the fence, and to me that makes sense. It's kind of a wait-and-see type of situation. Next question, will Chris Sununu and Phil Scott run for re-election? 8% say only Sununu, 39% only Scott, another 39% think both will run, 14% say neither. We now know Chris Sununu is not going to run for re-election, so that just leaves Phil Scott. So it's either those 39 are going to be right, or the 14 that say neither are going to be right. I could see it either way. If I had to pick, I would slightly lean toward Phil Scott retiring, possibly because his neighbor Chris Sununu is also going to retire, but you never know. Maybe Scott sticks around and runs for another term. Next question, 2024 swing for president in California compared to its 29.2% Democrat margin in 2020. 28% think it's going to swing 3 or more toward the left, 15% 1 to 2.9, 19% think less than 1% change, 26% think it's going to go toward the right by 1 to 2.9, and 13% think it's going to swing 3 or more toward the GOP. Given the state is so blue with a 29.2% margin, it's possible there's some volatility there. It's hard to picture it getting much bluer than it is, but maybe there's still more to squeeze out there and it goes over 30% toward the Democrats. But maybe the Republicans have bottomed out and it starts to tilt back toward the GOP. Like with most of these, it's tough to say, but good results, kind of scattered, but a little bit more if you think it's going to go toward the Democrats. Next question, what is your opinion on the Supreme Court ruling against affirmative action? 51% strongly agree, 9% agree, 12 are neutral, 13 disagree, 15 strongly disagree. This has always been controversial, and I get the arguments on both sides, but I've always thought the state should not be factoring race into almost anything really, but especially college admissions, hiring, or promotions. I just never bought the argument that because of past discrimination or because society is not colorblind, that the admissions process should also not be colorblind. But if you think that there can be discrimination based based on race. I don't know what your limiting principle is then. But I always thought there has to be some fundamental equal protection under the law that all of society is held to. And using different discrimination as a remedy for prior discrimination, I don't think it's ever going to end. I don't think it's going to leave us in a good place. I think the state has to look at you as an individual and not as part of a group identity. Using socioeconomic factors, that is one way to go. That would include everybody that has a hard time getting into college. That's a debate for another question. But one other thing I always hear is using the race is just such a small part. It's one of many factors, as if it's almost not even used at all. But if that's the case, then getting rid of it is always met with such intense blowback that it seems like it's actually much more of a small factor than it's made out to be. Next question, what is your opinion on the Supreme Court ruling against student debt forgiveness? 38% strongly agree, 8 agree, 9 are neutral, 12 disagree, 33 strongly disagree. This is a huge split, ton of comments here, over 70, and I get it, student debt can be crippling, but then there's plenty of people that did it the right way. They don't want to have to burden the cost for people that took on debt they were unable to pay back, but then again, maybe the debt was maliciously unfair, and maybe it's in the societal interest to wipe away the debt. It's another one of these things that is never going to end. Not a lot of people in the middle, most people all the way on one side or the other. A lot of great comments here. So in the interest of moving this along, I'm going to go on to the next question. Next, opinion on the Supreme Court ruling in the Colorado wedding website designer free speech/discrimination case. This one has 42% strongly agree, 9 agree, 12 are neutral, 8 disagree, 29 strongly disagree. This one has a lot of controversy again behind it, and it gets down to, should you be compelled to create artistic messages that go against your beliefs? I think there's a lot of concern about a slippery slope, and I think that is legitimate. If it leads to an outright denying of service, that I think would be a different issue. I think most people would be against that. I think the court would rule against that as well. But in terms of a specific creative message, that's why I think more people agree with this. If this person said they're not going to create any website purely based on their identity, that would be unacceptable. But if they said just this message or this theme they're not going to create without going onto the slippery slope, that's my guess as to why more people are supportive of this. Now, if you do go down the slippery slope, I think we'd have to go case by case. I think there is some reason for some concern, but then again, I also think there's examples where if you take any religion, they're going to have things they're not going to want to create, but I do think this should apply equally across the board, regardless of the religion. Next, we've got, what is your opinion of Mike Pence? Only 3% very favorable, 10% favorable, 28% neutral, 29 unfavorable, 30 very unfavorable. I previously did one for Kamala Harris. She did a little bit worse, but both of these vice presidents are highly unliked. Pence really burned himself with the Trump base. He's got some never Trump appeal, but I don't think many Democrats are going to view him favorably outside of whatever his opposition is to Trump. I think Pence's favorables were okay when he was in office, but his appeal at this point is very limited. But these results show he's highly unpopular. He's running for president right now. His polling is just so bad, it's hard to believe he was just recently the vice president. And the last question is 2024 swing for president in Arizona compared to its 0.3% Dem margin in 2020. 9% think it's going to go toward the Democrats by 3 or more. 44% think 1 to 2.9. 30% think it's going to be almost neutral. 12% think it's going to go toward the GOP by 1 to 2.9. And 5% think it's going to go toward the Republicans by 3 or more. Given the trends last time, it's easy to think this is going to go toward the Democrats a little bit. So these results make sense to me, but there could always be a surprise. Maybe it does tilt back toward the Republicans. Maybe it goes hard toward the Democrats by 4 or 5. Tough to say, but Republicans have really had limited success in Arizona, but we'll see which way the trends go. So that's another round of community polls. I do a variety of questions every 3 days. I read every comment unless YouTube hides it from me, and there's too many for me to respond to, but it's good to see some back and forth discourse. I get tons of different views on this channel. Sometimes they're reflected in the comments, sometimes the comments are one-sided, but these poll results, they speak for themselves. Most of these have 500 or 600 votes. That's great. So let me know in the comments, what do you think of these recap videos? What do you think of the questions? And what do you think of the results? Let me know down below. On your way out, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Join the channel if you'd like to support it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.